Yo, let's talk about The Flash season nine's finale. This is going to be like a total freestyle with no script, just some points that I'm going to go over. So it starts off with Barry's like monologue of some sorts, saying that to understand what I'm about to tell you, you need to believe in the impossible. And then skip a little bit, we find out that the villains are back because Cobalt Blue pulled them from various points in the timeline where they were about to die. And I didn't really mind that explanation, but what I didn't like was it was just really cringe how they were all interacting with one another. For example, Godspeed still has his own god complex, at the age that he is, and Zoom was acting a little bit different. Savitar didn't really say much, and again, Thawne is just kind of like childish now and petty, and his character is already ruined. And they also pulled Godspeed from the future in 2052, I believe, and he was about to die then. I'm not really sure why they didn't really just get Godspeed from Argus Security Holden or whatever. And again, in my previous video, they still really don't have a reason to work together, or at least I would like to have them explain why they would work with the character to like, Savitar. I don't think he's gonna work with Zoom and Thawne, and just the characters in and of themselves. Like, I don't think they're going to work with each other. So, skip a little bit forward. Eddie shows up at the hospital with Iris and Barry there. Barry runs away. Eddie gets his own, lightsaber speed construct, and then he instantly knocks down Barry, you know, after being like a speedster for one day and Barry being a speedster for 9 years. And um, his running style is also very weird in my opinion. It just doesn't really flow, but it's whatever. But yeah, he instantly knocks down a veteran speedster of 9 years, and he has just had his speed like right now, and somehow he's already knocked down Barry. So that already just set me off in a bad tone or in a bad way for the rest of the episode because there's no way Barry's already losing or starting off losing to someone who has just had a speed for like a short amount of time. And then Team Flash battles, shows up to Barry's aid and then battles the Legion of Zoom, I think is what they call themselves. And this is the part that was really, really bad in the episode and really disappointing. So basically, Barry says execute Delta maneuvers, which I don't think I've ever heard him say before. So I'm not sure if they practice off screen, but whatever. And then I think Khione and Mark, teleport turn into like mist or whatever. Um, Allegra uses the smoke bombs, and then Cecile can now fly. And this is something that they've been doing for previous episodes, just constantly giving to Cecile upgrades to her powers and abilities with no sequences in the episodes of her training or getting these powers or the powers manifested, not really. She just randomly starts flying and flying faster than Godspeed can run. And then she defeats him with her mind powers. And there's this part where she's just like, Godspeed creates clones of himself, and they are running towards Cecile, and Cecile's just waving her arms at them. And then with her telekinesis, she's like knocking them down. And that was just the most triggering point in the episode because, or one of the most triggering points in the episode because, again, she should not be able to move or even think faster than Godspeed can run. She is a human mentally, I think. So it doesn't make sense at all. Oh my, the writing is so bad. Okay, and then, you know, Nora. One thing that I really did like was how Nora actually did get caught by Savitar, and then he stabs her, but Nora is facing like her midsection, and then she cuts off Savitar's, spear or whatever, and then stabs him through a gap in his armor. And then instantly, Savitar and Godspeed are now defeated. And then I'm sure the villain that a lot of fans were most triggered by was Zoom getting defeated by Khione after he runs around in a tunnel surrounded by cops and Khione and Mark, and then he throws a lightning bolt or he shoots lightning out of his hands. Khione absorbs it and then redirects it towards him, and then he instantly loses right then and there as well. And then Thawne goes to see Chester in Star Labs and then electrocutes him, and then Chester, supposedly dies, and then Allegra catches Thawne off guard and then defeats him there as well with like a pulse blast or whatever. So just like that, these OP four past villains or five, whatever, these past villains that, Barry struggled to beat up in the past have now just been defeated easily by the B team of the Team Flash in mere seconds. It doesn't make any sense like that, in my opinion, especially because I don't think they are as actually no, never mind, screw that. All right, so yeah, next, Barry is fighting Eddie, and then Jay Garrick shows up and then steals Eddie's speed, which also doesn't really make sense because doesn't stealing negative speed force energy counteract the positive speed force energy in yourself? But whatever, they don't really talk about that. And then Jay says that he learned this ability from his Earth 90 counterpart, which has never really been explained, but it's possible that he met his counterpart in the past sometime before. And then, that's the only reason that Jay shows up, and that's it. He does nothing else. And then, Barry chases Eddie after Eddie tries to get more speed by going into the negative speed force. And then Khione does a little bit of pep talk to Barry and then takes him to the negative speed force. I don't know how. And then Barry taunts down Eddie from destroying the timeline. And this is another point that I really didn't like, because how are you going to convince someone who was ready to destroy the world or the timeline, like rip it apart? How are you going to talk that person out of it in any way, shape, or form? And again, I don't know if the negative speed force influences your mind, if it takes over your mind, or if it simply amplifies your emotions, or if it's like the stereotypical devil on your shoulder. But regardless, I'm pretty sure Eddie should have been the most angry that he's ever been, and Barry taught them out of trying to kill Barry. And then somehow they make a pact to coexist together without ruining the world, which doesn't really even really make sense to me, because I don't even know how that works. Like, so are you telling me the negative speed force is never ever going to try to like kill anyone again, and then they can just somehow exist like that? All right, so yeah, after that, it turns out that Chester is a metahuman. He still has some of the residue of his black hole powers, which has never been shown before in the past. And then Khione decides to ascend into a higher being or whatever. And then Caitlin shows up again, which is really nice because they handled her death poorly. And then Barry, um, after a while, Nora West Allen is born, and then yeah, that was pretty cute and all that. And then Barry throws up a lightning bolt in the sky, and then he gives Avery Ho, Max Mercury, and Jesse Chambers powers to become new speedsters. And this is another part that I really didn't like, because did Barry just like give people powers without their consent? He didn't even really think it through, I think, because number one, he could also be messing with the timeline. Number two, they didn't ask for these abilities, and number three, they could also turn out to be villains. So, oh well. So yeah, overall, this was a very disappointing finale. I did not enjoy this episode at all. There were some good moments, but like that's not enough to just gloss over all the negatives, which is pretty much all of the episode. So yeah, but I'm glad it's over, and the show cannot be further ruined anymore. So yeah, that's about it. Peace.